Hello, my angels. It's me, Lord Nicolina, and welcome to the final episode of 2022 for Angel Rise. Before I get started, I would like to say thank you all so much for all the support on the podcast and all my videos over the past year. It sure has been a hell of a ride. And I do have quite a bit planned for next year, including the 1-year anniversary special of Angel Rise, which I will make sometime next week at the time I'm recording this. Also, I do have another announcement to make, that being, I will be returning to Instagram, which will happen on January 2nd, 2023. So for every video uploaded after that time, I will be sharing my new/rebooted Instagram account in the description of each video, and hopefully my return there brings a better experience. So in turn, it's basically one of my New Year's resolutions for 2023. And with that being said, let's get into the final Angel Rise episode of 2022. From what you can tell from the title, I saw 2022 as a roller coaster type of year, with many good and bad moments. So in this episode, I will share some of my most memorable moments from 2022, both good and bad. So let's get onto this roller coaster, shall we? It's gonna be rough to start, but it will be fun the rest of the way. Starting with the bad moments. The first bad moment I would like to share is my continued struggle on social media, plus the return that lasted for only over a month. From what I mentioned back in episode 3, my time on social media over the last couple years has been a nightmare. Dealing with exaggerated civil rights posts, exaggerated political discussions, and my abuse, it was all in front of me, pushing my mentality to my limits. I took a long break from August 2021 to April 2022, and returned with hopes that everything died down. They did, but only a little bit. I still struggle dealing with the endless amount of drama on social media, even dealing with a male Mario OC who I perceived to be good, only to find out he was a jerk, and tried to get me involved in things I wasn't interested in, like the movie The Princess Bride, and blocked him. I won't say who did it for privacy reasons. For those I did trust that I interacted with, I felt like that was the only good part about my return. It would break apart a month in. When the first signs of me quitting came up, I thought to myself, if this nonsense continues, I'm leaving. But I decided on limiting how much I used the platforms I use, with the exclusion of Discord. But on May 14th, 2022, the last straw broke, when my favorite NHL team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, were eliminated from the first round of the playoffs for the 6th straight year, and I knew that the fan base would be extremely impatient and be absolutely dramatic. To bring some clarity, I love the Maple Leafs no matter what, and support them with all my heart. And to see them be berated by their own fans is heartbreaking and disgusting for me to see, and I wanted no part of it. That's when I took another break, and 2.5 weeks later, I decided I was going to quit, and swore on oath that I would not return to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Discord I found to be a lot safer, and I stuck with it. However, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I have changed my mind, and I'm going to return to Instagram. But with significant changes. My accounts being set to private, and only following those I trust. But why so? I feel like Instagram isn't as bad as Facebook or Twitter. And despite the fact that Instagram was the social media site where my abuse took place, I feel confident that if I take the right precautions, I would avoid a repeat affair. Hopefully my return in January 2023 will be a lot better than that hellish return in April 2022 and my continued struggles, which was no doubt one of the worst moments of the year for me. However, it's not as bad as this next one. The second and worst bad moment I would like to talk about is a moment I talked about in episode 24, that being the incident I had with my dear friend Kestrel on April 23rd. The incident happened because of a podcast Kestrel and their boyfriend were a part of with a really bad trio of people. And by really bad, I mean literally one of the worst groups of people to be around. But what specifically happened to make this moment so horrible? It started with the intro of the first episode stating a disclaimer that jokes will be made. I was under the consideration that they would be puns, like the ones I make. But boy, was I about to be proved wrong. About 5 minutes into watching, I got a realization that the jokes being made were of sensitive subjects. But it wasn't until 2 minutes of watching later when Kestrel made one of these jokes. And then, all hell broke loose in my mind. Jokes about racism, mental health, and even the cancel culture phenomenon were widespread. And I thought, why would anyone, let alone Kestrel, be involved in such nonsense like this? I left a dislike and screamed as I clicked out of the video after only watching 16 minutes of it. What happened afterwards was a near implosion of my friendship with Kestrel, as I stated that I didn't like the podcast one bit, and Kestrel feared that it was game over for our friendship. But within my heart, I couldn't bear to lose Kestrel as a friend as much as she didn't want to lose me. I was heartbroken and mad, even crying a bit. But to cut ties right then and there is a move a jerk would make. Kestrel and I did make up, but there was no doubt I was shaken up after what happened. The sad part about this was that the night before, I made a note for Kestrel acknowledging how thankful I was for our friendship. And like I mentioned in episode 24, it's unbelievable that one night we were the bestest friends ever, and then the very next day, our friendship was on the line. And I wondered for months afterwards, who was responsible for nearly bringing down my friendship with Kestrel and their boyfriend. It was simple. That damned trio they were with. They disregarded what Kestrel and their boyfriend enjoyed to glorify what they loved, and used sexist terms on Kestrel like just a woman, and completely disregarded Kestrel's reasons for identifying as a pansexual demigirl. Seriously, how messed up is that? Using a phrase like that on my dear friend is the equivalent of my abuser Texic calling my OC Nicolina a good girl. Plus, to add insult to injury, that trio thought Kestrel and their boyfriend were lesser because of both of them having autism, and they manipulated them into participating in the podcast in the first place, and making them mirror what they did. I'm gonna be honest, I have no words to describe how awful those guys treated Kestrel and their boyfriend. Especially Kestrel. If I ever see that trio in real life, or if they try to interact with me, either I'm going to ignore them, or give them the biggest earful of their lives. They nearly destroyed my friendship with Kestrel, and have committed great sins. That is no doubt the worst thing that has happened to me in 2022. Alright everyone, we've moved past the rough parts of the ride, the bad moments I've had in 2022, but now it's on to the fun part, the good moments I've had in 2022. The first good moment I would like to share with you all is my realization of how important my friendship with Kestrel became. As you all know, my friendship with Kestrel has expanded dramatically over the time we've known each other. Especially considering that we have two OC romances between us, that being Nicol Daisy x Kestra Peach and Nicolina x Kestrelina. Also, I've made various videos on this channel about my friendship with Kestrel, including a full Angel Rise episode dedicated to them. I will include a playlist of those videos on the screen here. Going back to the OC romances, the two OC romances I have with Kestrel spawned children this year. I'm not even kidding. My OCs now have kids. One of which I mentioned back in episode 20 of Angel Rise. And since then, there's been another one. And who are they, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. The first child is Marie, another Rosalina OC, who is the child of Nicolina and Kestrelina, who was first created on April 14th, 2022, nearly a year after Nicol Daisy and Kestra Peach became a couple. Instantly, I found Marie to be so unexpected, but I couldn't resist the fact that Nicolina was now a mother. I honestly can't put into words how excited I was. I knew right then and there something special had emerged. Marie even had some features that Nicolina had, like the half gold, half silver crown, and the red lipstick, the latter of which when she was fully grown. Only Marie's dress is red and has a symbol of a heart with a swirl in the middle on each sleeve. I was so happy that Marie was created that I went on to make a drawing of Nicolina singing his call in front of Marie. I could sense in my mind that Marie would become an angel like Nicolina. And so it came to be. On April 28, 2022, Kestrel came up with a face paint design for Marie. It has similarities with both Nicolina and Kestrelina's angel face paints. The base design was the same, only she had hearts beside her eyes and a holy cross on her forehead. The hearts beside her eyes represent Kestrelina, and the holy cross on the forehead represents Nicolina. Only her face paint doesn't have a white base like Nicolina and Kestrelina. The base is half pink and half red, with the detailing being white, much like on Nicol Daisy's face paint. The finishing touch was a roleplay I did with Kestrel over a month after Marie was created, in which God officially declared her to be one, as well as given her an angel outfit and wings. Marie was honestly a blessing I couldn't have imagined, and if you thought Nicolina and Kestrelina having a child was amazing, it gets even better. On September 2nd, 2022, a day after I released episode 20 of Angel Rise, Nicol Daisy and Kestra Peach's child was created by Kestrel. It was a Peach OC by the name of Iris. Now, how did Iris come to be? It came from a question Kestrel asked in episode 20 of Angel Rise, asking if Nicol Daisy and Kestra Peach would have a child like Nicolina and Kestrelina did. And as you may have surmised, I said yes. Initially, I thought Marie between Nicolina and Kestrelina was good enough. but I felt, at the same time, why not have Nickel Daisy and Kestra Peach have a child of their own? And boom! That's when Iris came in. For those of you religious experts who recognize the name, you may very well know the name's origin. For those of you who don't know, I'll explain. The name Iris comes from the Greek goddess of the same name, who was known as the messenger of the gods. That was exactly implemented into our Iris, being a messenger of her family and God himself. Plus, Iris has her own form she undertakes when doing so, resembling how Peach looks when doing her Mega Strike in Mario Strikers Charged. Only Iris turns half blue and half yellow to represent the colors of her mother's and handles a light blue purse. As for her normal look, like Marie, she has features related to Nickel Daisy, like having freckles, a half gold, half silver crown, and red lipstick. For the dress, it's white with gray accents on it, plus a heart on each side of the top part of her dress, blue on the right, and yellow on the left. And for her face paint, which I designed, recognized a similar concept for Marie's face paint, which incorporated details of each of her mother's face paints, only it had a white base, blue and yellow details, including a holy cross on the forehead, as well as a silver heart on the nose and silver lips. And based on her name, it didn't take too much to recognize Iris as an angel. Overall, having children in my OC romances with Kestrel wasn't something I could have imagined when they started. But in the end, they were blessings in disguise. Beyond that, my friendship with Kestrel has built up so strong that I started to believe that being in love doesn't feel as bad as I originally thought of it to be. And I think of Kestrel every single day and pray for their safety, because I know life has not been easy on Kestrel, and she can use all the support she can get. Plus, she's the one who made me fully understand the LGBTQ community, and as stated earlier, she does identify as a pansexual demigirl. She even introduced me to the definition of bigender and helped me realize the true identity of my OCs. Bigender, intersex, and lesbian. The biggest part of this, however, is I feel like Kestrel has become a sister to me, because of how dedicated we've been to each other and the understanding we have despite each of our struggles. Now, why is that? It's because I've always been one to look out for my friends and family, even when they are in strong need of help. Kestrel definitely feels like one of those people. One who I feel I could literally spend every day with. Making drawings and edits of each other's OCs, role-playing like there's no tomorrow, and making each other feel at our best. Our OCs have expanded into a family. She has a good heart. We're both interested in the Mario princesses, and we both wish the best care for each other. The feeling of Kestrel being a sister to me, having confidence to find love, learning more about the LGBTQ community, and having children in our OC romances was no doubt why the importance of my friendship with Kestrel skyrocketed and made it one of my best moments of 2022. The second good moment of 2022 I would like to share is the move to my grandparents' place. Moving no doubt can be quite stressful, but in my case, my stress was quite limited. I did explain this in more detail in episode 21 of Angel Rise, which I will leave a link to on the screen here. In March 2022, I first got the news that my mother and I would have to move based on the fact that our old neighbor's oldest daughter was due to be married and wished to move into the house we lived in at the time. We initially were looking to move into a house not far from our old one, but it changed in June 2022 when it was decided that we would move into my grandparents' place on the other end of town. Why, you may ask? It was mainly because of my grandpa's declining health, and it felt like a gift to both him and my grandma that we were moving in because they initially were going to move themselves, and my mother and I were helping quite a bit with selling some of their stuff, so I consider it a reward to them. At the time of this recording, it's been fun so far. It's because I've familiarized myself with the area my grandparents live in because I trick-or-treated a lot there when I was a kid. My room is located in the basement, which was renovated by my uncle. The original beams that had been installed in the basement when the house was originally built in 1973, they were removed, and the flooring was replaced as well, along with the removal of some of the wood paneling on the near wall. As for my room, it was made separate from the rest of the basement area, occupying the far end, including my grandpa's old workshop, which will eventually be turned into my studio. As of this recording, it's being used for storage. For my desk/work area, it's located within the main area of the basement, with my desk and drawing table set up almost identically to how it was set up back at my old place. It's no problem, however, as I've enjoyed working out there despite the occasional distractions. As for recording these videos, at the time of recording of this video, I mostly record them in my bedroom with some inclusion of my eventual studio. I felt there were very few reasons why the move was difficult. The most significant being that I loved the area I previously lived in so much, and it was difficult to say goodbye to it. But at the same time, I pounced on the opportunity to live at my grandparents' place, the place where I've made so many good memories in the past, and have made even more since the move was completed. That's why the move has become one of my favorite moments of 2022. And finally, my last and most favorite moment of 2022. That being the creation of this channel and this podcast. For those of you who don't know, my podcast takes partial inspiration from a podcast called The Topical Podcast, which was created by my high school friends Cameron Haas and Sam Smaretsky. As a matter of fact, I was part of an episode of that podcast. I will include a link to that on the screen here in case you want to check it out. Being part of that podcast was fun, no questions asked. But I never could have imagined it would spawn my own podcast. On January 3rd, 2022, it all began. This wonderful podcast series where I tell stories of some of my most memorable experiences based around a certain topic was ready to be shared with you all. And like I mentioned earlier about sharing my own experiences, that's a big reason why I wanted to make this series quite original and a way to express my emotions, all the while realizing that other people have similar stories to mine, mostly from Kestrel and their boyfriend. Making this series was also a big reason why some questions I had were answered, like why the incident between Kestrel and I happened, or how people would react when I shared my abuse story. Those answers came to light after someone viewed an episode, especially when it came to episode 24, and why the incident between Kestrel and I happened on April 23rd. While the podcast is no question the biggest part of this channel, in February of 2022, not long after I made episode 6 of Angel Rise, I felt the channel could use a boost. That's why I started making other content, which started with the motivational speeches. Then came the skits, the poems, and the read-throughs. Those, combined with my podcast, I feel make a strong message that I'm not just here to make a podcast, but to make other content as well. And I also felt it was to share my message of peace and love, and not just to have fun. This is not your average YouTube channel. I'm not here just for the views, or for the popularity. I'm here because I love making videos, and wish to share them with a bigger audience, and those I love. When the time comes, more of the right people will come and subscribe to the channel. But for right now, I'm honestly happy where I'm at. And I can't wait for what the future of this channel brings. To everyone who has supported this channel since the beginning, I would like to thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. And like I always say, any and all support is greatly appreciated, no matter how big or small. Having this channel is no doubt a blessing, and a great way to express who I am. From the speeches, to the poems, to the skits, to the read-throughs, and even this podcast, the start of making content for you all is no doubt my most favorite moment of 2022. The ride is complete, everyone. The ups and downs and the twists and turns were no doubt wild. And while some of them were uncomfortable, others made this ride so much fun. I can definitely say 2022 was the year of the roller coaster. That's all for episode 28, and the final episode of 2022 for Angel Rise. Like I mentioned at the beginning, 2022 was truly a roller coaster year for me, but in a fun way. It's a year I honestly will never forget, and I hope 2023 will be just as fun, maybe even more fun. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely leave a like and share this with your loved ones. Spread the word about Angel Rise. For those who are new and would like to join this journey of mine, please feel free to subscribe to join the blue and white Angel Brethren today. Click on the notification bell as well so that you are notified whenever I release new content. And check out my other videos too. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Angel Rise. I hope you all have a great day or night whenever you are watching this. I also wish you all an amazing New Year, no matter how you celebrate it. And until we meet again, my name is Lord Nicolina. Be strong, stay positive, and God bless. Happy New Year, everyone! Bye!